I'm going to skip around a little bit because I just have notes and I can't, it's not in order. I was just told last night that one of your people called me in Greensboro and said that they had read in the Durham paper where Mr. Hennett had given an interview after our meeting in Raleigh. I'll get back to that meeting in a minute. And that he was asked how he thought it went. And he said, well, I don't think that the people that were here, the different ones that were opposed to the hazardous waste, and I don't think they're ready to endorse us. But, he says, I think we made progress.
No way.
And after I hung up the phone, I told my wife, I said, if he calls this progress, then he made progress. Because as soon as the meeting was over, I crossed the hall, went into the restroom, looked in the mirror, and said, George, you don't look very smart, but you don't look as dumb as you've been treated. But this is the treatment that we received. They treated us as though we were children. To give you an instance, well, first of all, the meeting was well controlled because it was not controlled by the Hazardous Waste Commission. It was controlled by the Department of Human Resources. And they did a fantastic job in doing that. We were allowed to ask questions and given some time to talk. However, the answers that they gave us were indicative of how much respect they had for our intelligence. For instance, in explaining incineration, and Dr. Turner did this, and he did a fantastic job, he said it is the burning of something. Hospitals have been using incineration for years. Your fireplace is an incinerator, and it gives off poisonous gas. And we sat there and listened to this. We listened to that intelligent answer, or that intelligent explanation of incineration, and we were glad to hear that. We just didn't know that. Another that tested our intelligence was anything that you people can think of that we can incorporate in the construction of this incinerator that will make it safer, you just let us know and we'll do it.
To make it safer, but it's safe. It's safe.
They offered to do that. They will do that. Now, if you believe all this, where's that balloon? I'll go up in it. And I have no intention of doing that. Also, they invite, Mr. Carviti says, if you think we don't run a good, clean, tight, safe ship, you come to Rock Hill and we'll give you a tour. We would really know what we were looking at, wouldn't we? We would go there and go through, and we would know that it was either safe or unsafe, clean or unclean. We would have no idea, and of course he knew that. That was another insult to our intelligence. I think one of the most interesting facts, not the most, but just an interesting fact is that I don't think there's a member of the commission that has ever had anything to do with the construction of or the operation of an incinerator. And yet they're experts. They know all the answers. And anybody that opposes it or questions it is stupid. They have one purpose in life right now, I think, and that's to site the facility. And then they'll disappear, I think.
You better believe they'll disappear.
I really get the feeling that Mr. Hennett, I get the feeling, and this is personal again, please don't tie this to any other organization. I feel that Mr. Hennett is programmed like a computer.
Yeah, I agree now. He says the same thing.
He has the same expression all the time. It never changes. And each time that I look at him and pose a question or make a statement, while I'm talking, I can see the wheels turning and he's going to the answer before I get through, and the minute before I can finish, he punches a button and out it comes. Some people may get the idea that he's an intelligent man, but it doesn't take a lot of intelligence to always be negative. When you don't ever have to give but one side of a story, you don't have to be very smart. It's when you can debate it and listen. But I have never, in the meetings that I've attended, I have never heard him say, you may be right, I think that's possible, or anything like that. It's always a negative. You are wrong. Ladies and gentlemen, we are already hearing some rumors and statements from the employees at Murdoch Center that they may leave.
Yay! We sure will.
It is very difficult to hire good, qualified people to work at Murdoch Center. We have some beautiful people there, well-trained. If you've never seen the residents, some of them, like in Alpine, then you wouldn't really understand this, but some of those people, if you just lift them the wrong way, you break a bone. They're that fragile. And I almost got the feeling that some of these people that were looking at them Thursday maybe had the idea, they can't vote, they can't speak, they don't pay taxes, what difference does it make?
It makes a difference. To us it does.
Some suggestions that have been made for the protection of the residents at Murdoch Center has been issue gas masks.
That's ridiculous.
Make the buildings airtight. More transportation, more personnel, and the real good one was just move Murdoch. Just move Murdoch.
We have plenty of money.
Yeah.
We're not in this world.
Approximately $150 million investment that the taxpayers, of course, would have to pay. But you don't talk about money very much around these people. Something was said at the meeting Thursday about, the cost of all these additional ambulances and vehicles and all, and then somebody said, this must be a real profitable operation. This is almost a quote from Dr. Turner. Nobody said that it wasn't profitable. It's awfully hard to understand that the Association for Retarded Citizens and almost every other human rights organization in the state has come out in opposition to this sighting. And yet they aren't listening. They're all wrong. The world is wrong, and they are right. These people at Murdoch Center, and I'm sure this applies to all the other incarcerated people in this area, but I speak for Murdoch because that's where my daughter is and the organization that I belong to. But these people ask for so little. Give them a clean, safe environment, be kind to them, and they'll give you a smile that'll melt the hardest heart. Almost. Almost. And I also speak for the parents. We'll never see these walk down the aisle and graduate from high school or college. We'll never see them go on their first date, see them get married, give us a grandchild to bounce on our knee. Do we ask too much when we ask the state to leave us alone? No. To not add any more fear or frustration? I don't think so. Call the 3 numbers that you're going to be given today. 3 800 numbers that are free. Make a call to the governor, the Hazardous Waste Commission, the governor's advocacy for the disabled. Call them night and day. Get your friends, your neighbors, your enemies, where you work, your church, your schools. Call your representatives, state and federal. The federal people will tell, I have a letter from Mr. Sanford and Mr. Helms, and they both say this is not a federal issue, it's a state issue, there's nothing we can do, but there is. They can call and put some pressure. They're the ones that hold the purse strings in Washington to a lot of the money that we get. Let them put some pressure on the people in Raleigh. Call them. The rules have been changed for these people I think they can be changed for us. I'm going to conclude now. I just feel like that this little statement came from Reader's Digest, and I believe it's very applicable to our situation. The person who uses political power to force others to conform to his ideas seems inevitably to become corrupted by the power he holds. In due course, he comes to believe that power and wisdom are the same thing. And since he has power, he must have wisdom. At this point, he begins to lose his ability to distinguish between what is morally right and what is politically expedient. Thank you very much.
Another group of people who aren't here today, who can't speak for themselves, are those patients that are at Umstead Hospital here. Dr. Ann Louise Barrick is a psychologist at UNC Chapel Hill and works at John Umstead Hospital.
Greetings. I also am speaking for myself and not for the institution. We state employees have to be careful about these things. Yesterday, when I read the paper, I was shocked and I was outraged. How can the Hazardous Waste Management Commission and Governor Martin possibly consider placing the hazardous waste incinerator, the solvent recovery unit, and the dump in Butner? How can the commission fail to protect the 750 residents at Murdoch Center? How can the commission fail to protect the 650 mentally ill patients at John Umstead Hospital? What about the 90 adolescents at the Dillon School? The 850, soon to be 1,000 inmates of the Federal Correction Center? What about the 24 children at Whitaker School and the 80 residents at the Alcohol and Drug Rehabilitation Center? These individuals, many of whom are children, cannot be considered sacrificial. They cannot become the unwilling participants in a study of the long-term health effects of incineration. Really. There's signs up here, Hitler did it first, now Martin. You know, these experiments, there are no epidemiological studies of the health effects of long-term exposure to the fallout from an incinerator. You know, why take captive people who cannot defend themselves and put them in an experiment? It's very unethical. We will not let these individuals be showered by the fallout from the incinerator of chemicals such as benzene, lead, arsenic, or offer them contaminated water. We will not let them be victims of the state's rush to burn. We will not let them be subject to the increased risks of headaches, cancer, paralysis, insomnia, lung problems, and further mental retardation. Governor Martin has said that the residents of these institutions are just like everybody else. They're not, he's wrong. We can voice our opposition. We can be here today. We can walk. We can vote. Lots of these people cannot talk. And none of them can vote, as Mr. Cheek said. We don't require two people to carry us to protect our head as we move from one place to another. We're not blind, waiting for somebody to take care of our every need. We're not on oxygen. We don't require a feeding pump to eat. We don't bang our heads against the wall or pull out a knife and cut ourselves or cut somebody else as a way of dealing with our frustrations. We're not plagued by voices that when nobody's there, or constant fears that someone is trying to poison us. Although these days I'm beginning to wonder. I'm getting a little paranoid myself. We do not need somebody to dress us and to show us where the bathroom is in our own home. These people cannot protect themselves. We know that in the event of an emergency, the staff at the institutions cannot safely evacuate all these people. And besides that, when they talk about gas masks, people who sometimes don't keep their clothes on, how are you going to keep a gas mask on somebody like that? And then how do you explain to them, don't panic, it's okay, and people are being rushed out of the hospital, put in trucks and buses and whatever, and carried to the Dean Dome. But don't worry, it'll be okay. It's nothing to panic about. These are people that panic even if we have an air raid, a tornado drill. They're out in the halls, and it's very scary for them. And in the event of an evacuation, it would be terrifying. And the long-term effects are unthinkable. In the meantime, what's happening to the staff in our institutions and the people who both live and work in Butner? They are scared, they're confused, they're saddened, and they're extremely angry. Butner residents, many of whom still work at the institution, gave up thousands of acres of their land willingly in World War II. They've continued to live and to work in Butner and to care for our state's most troubled citizens. They fought the super collider, and now they're being attacked again. They're angry at the lies and at the deceit. This site was eliminated early on in the process, and now all of a sudden it is suitable. Who can you trust? Not the Hazardous Waste Management Commission, not Governor Martin. The people of Butner are angry at the Hazardous Waste Management Commission's refusal to listen to them and to understand what they're saying. The state employees are scared. They're afraid that they'll lose their jobs if they speak out, and they're afraid they'll lose their health if they remain living here. They're worried about their children and their grandchildren who are at the greatest risk for the health effects of these pollutants. They suffer from insomnia, and their children are having nightmares about fires and incineration. Family stress is at an all-time high, and some families are at war with each other. The divorce rate is already climbing. Law-abiding citizens are choosing to be arrested. This is the kind of stress that can have long-term health effects. It can cause depression, brain damage, high blood pressure, mental and physical breakdown, and even death. We are speaking out loudly today. We will protect the patients. We will protect our families. We will protect ourselves. Today we are united with the people from all over North Carolina in our demand to Governor Martin and to the Hazardous Waste Management Commission to eliminate this site from consideration for a hazardous waste facility. We also call upon the legislature to stop and to look and to admit that incineration is too dangerous, that we don't need a hazardous waste incinerator, not here, not there, not anywhere.
At this point, we were normally going to do a collection, but we're running a little bit late, so we're going to pass that up for right now. We'll hit you up for money later. We have a lot of people to thank, and I want to do it real fast. I want to introduce our legislators, the people who have come